So welcome to the program, The Desk on Global Television, as we look at very, very silent issues making the rounds across the globe. We'll be taking you to India and, of course, the U.S. and Israel's war in Gaza continues as we look at all the big stories making the rounds. One of them being the fact that Indian Prime Minister, in the person of Narendra Modi, will visit Ukraine. The Foreign Ministry reviewed today, weeks after Kiev condemned him hugging President Vladimir Putin during a visit to the traditional ally Russia. New Delhi's Foreign Ministry did not give reasons or the date when this trip will be happening, but it's saying that hopefully it's going to be in the course of this week. That's when they expect Modi to visit Ukraine, as probably some say as a cover-up to his earlier, criticized parley with Vladimir Putin. We'll also be looking at other issues on the foreign scene as Mr. President travels to France. It's not been revealed why Mr. President has left for France, but we're being assured that he will be returning once his work visit is done. Just like I told you, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said this Gaza talks may be the last chance for peace concerning Israel and the Palestinians. We'll also be looking at other issues making the rounds today. We'll be looking at the issue of the fake degrees. Federal government ordering universities to submit the matriculation list to the Federal Ministry of Education at least 3 weeks after matriculation ceremonies have taken place. We'll also be looking at other issues as regards the President Tinubu's order or approval for the dividends of NNPCL's 2023 stock to be used to pay subsidy. We'll be looking at the implications of that. All right, on today's edition, as usual, we'll get the finest minds in the African continent to help us look at a very interesting talking point. And we've got the global president of a rebuild Nigerian project in the person of model Jeffrey Abidoye joining us in the live studios. And hopefully Gerard Kachi, who is the National Secretary of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, will be joining us via Zoom to add his voice to the issues we'll be looking at on today's edition. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the desk.
Tony, it's nice to be here. My pleasure being here.
All right.
Good afternoon out there.
Okay. Let's begin from the issue of the trip by Modi to visit Ukraine after he was criticized for facilitating with Vladimir Putin. Do you think that's a quick trying to damage control? That's what he's trying to do by saying, okay, he's going to visit Ukraine in the course of this week?
Well, thank you so much. The relationship between India as well as Russia dated back to so many years, post-Second World War and all that. It is on record that India as well as Russia has been, allies, friends over the years. And so they said, often say that what is a way of life to somebody might be an abomination to other person. The war in Russia and Ukraine, which was avoidable somehow for over 2 years now, opened doors, particularly as a result of ban, against Russia as a result of that war, unprovoked attack. And little did I must say that Russia didn't believe that the war could last for over 2 years as a result of visible and invisible fingers, that are behind Ukraine and all that. You will recall that in recent time, particularly in the last 1 week or two, Ukraine, as small as it is, doing a lot of invasion into the territory of Russia and all that, hitting them left, right, and center, and so many other things. And so the relationship between Russia and India has been there. And so you will recall that the ban and on Russia on the sale of its crude oil to so many countries, particularly, the neighboring countries in Europe, has opened bigger door for him, to India. And so he's been maybe on a control or even reduced price to attract patronage and all that, as well as China, and all that. So that's, strengthening the relationship, the existing relationship over the years. So for me, Prime Minister of India visiting Russia, I'm not surprised.
But wouldn't that, now that he's proposing to visit Ukraine,
Yeah.
Wouldn't that damage the relationship he has with Putin? Putin, we know, is a no-nonsense person. He might begin to read in between the lines.
Well, I want to believe that, you see, it's part of the thing I said here last week. I recall when we're looking at the issue, of Israel and then the Gaza, Wala and all the rest and all that. Look, what we are seeing in contemporary times as, nations are not being sincere to the corporate interests of sometimes the association they belong somehow. What you see behind the scene more are personal, sectional, parochial interests of each of these nations within, the ambits and the space of what is happening globally and so many. So a lot goes behind that you cannot say. So I want to say without prejudice, and then certainly that the Prime Minister of India visiting Ukraine to balance the relationship somehow will not be without the consent or the endorsement of Putin. You get what I'm saying? So for me, it's just
But do you think it's because of the U.S. Indian is paying this visit, knowing that the U.S. is strongly backs Ukraine?
Well, everybody knows that it is a United Nations, under NATO that is leading other, bigger nations within even Europe and other the Western world, backing Ukraine and all that. Like I said, it's about trade. It's about interest, it's about what comes to you. I'm not surprised because most time what you see play out, in the diplomatic, arena openly, there are a lot of, things that are happening behind. These are guys that will shout on television and what have you. It's just that what people say in our own parlance here, you see politicians in, PDP, you see them in APC attacking themselves publicly. But go behind, you see them wine dining and, clubbing together in the night. Go behind and go to the airport and see them hugging each other and so many other things and all that. So that's why we often advise the younger generation, don't go and kill yourself for these guys who hobnob, who go to the same market, who shop from the same shop, they travel abroad together to go for medical tourism and so many other things and others. So, like I said, what we are seeing in recent time, is just about the interest of, one country or the other to outdo the other and so many other things, So this is precisely what I'm saying, and all that. So for me, him going to, Ukraine to say, oh boy, don't be say completely, now I deal with this other guy, or I deal your side too, so just to balance the whole thing and all that. And so for me, it's nothing much per se. It's nothing much per se.
All right, let's move to the next talking point. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Israel to push for the Gaza truce said the ongoing negotiation may be the last chance to reach an agreement to end the war. Do you agree with Antony Blinken that this might be the last chance? And when you say the last chance, does it also imply that both parties are ready for full-blown war, that we might see Turkey, Iran, and other countries who have earlier on warned Israel as regards what might befall them? Already we know that Iran has already warned that they must pay for the killing of the Hamas leader in Tehran.
Well, one thing like I used to say is that it's often said here, they say somebody is bigger than you say not small. When a man is bigger than you, he's bigger than you any time, any day. As small as Israel is within, the region, the Middle East region, one thing that you cannot take away from Israel is the divine backing. That's one. Two, one thing that you cannot equally take from Israel is that they were surrounded by so many enemies. Over the years, the records are there, way back to 1948. And so many other things. So Israel, while other nations within the Middle East are sleeping, they are not sleeping. In terms of technology, in terms of agri, in terms of socio-economic infrastructure, they are in the space, they are developing. They have one of the strongest, security arm, the Mossad today, that is gathering. So they are in the moon, they are in the star, they are in all over the places, they know what is happening. And then the recent killing of the political head of Hamas or something of that nature, right? In Tehran. That is to tell Iran, say, oh boy, you are a small fry as far as we are concerned. When did you start all this kind of something? So we will not be your mate. You get what I'm saying? Aha. So that's precisely what I'm trying to say in essence is now that America, over the recent time has been, particularly since this last war, they've been leading other countries to say, okay, we are pursuing a truce. Okay, we are talking about peace. The same America is the one arming them, giving them, because they've been age-long allies, so you cannot separate them. America and Israel, you cannot separate them. Where Israel goes, America goes, even when the whole world is on the other side. No, it's not about religious, because if we talk about religion now, look at the relationship that America too had or is still having with Saudi Arabia. Most of their technology, most of their oil, they are the one behind, they are building it. So it's about interest. It's not about, there's no permanent enemy, it's about interest. So where their interest is, hurting one way or the other, you see them there. And that's why I'm saying that people are talking about third war. Third war, there's not going to be any third war. Whoever shouts somewhere, they give him a knock on the head, and then they say tomorrow, okay, don't be angry. Don't be annoyed, and all that kind of. So what we are seeing in recent time are paddy no sincerity of the common enemy or something of that nature and all that. So Anthony Blinken going there now, he's been going. Even the president, have been, saying a lot of things, supporting and all that. But what I'm saying in essence is, you still discover that a country like Iran is a country where jihadis, extremists are being trained. The Hezbollahs and the rest of them are being trained and are being armed. And you will recall that America and Iran has always been on each other's neck for years. When Iraq was there, the challenge Iran is struggling, waxing, and then producing today. They are producing, weapons of destruction, war. So many things. So they are trying to flex their muscle, just like the North Korean guy is trying to do that. Oh boy, are they here? Me too, and no rest, or something of that nature. That's precisely what you are saying. But the fact still remains that, look, it's about interest. There's no way for how long this thing has been on now, that at the end of the day, people will still come around to come and say, okay, let's talk. What is the way forward? But I think we are getting there somehow.
All right, between Israel and Hamas, now, who do you think would sue more for peace as regards this last Gaza talks?
Well, for me, I follow the trend. The Hamas leaders has been saying, oh, let us, sit down, let us talk. It is the terms of agreement that Israel is giving them that they still find difficult to swallow. Left for them alone, in fact, at a point you can see that they say, oh, we answer up, we are no more interested in this. But because of the invisible finger from Iran and some, country within, like the Turkey you are talking about, talking tough somehow, and at the end of the day and all, that's why you still see Hamas. Because, where is Hamas as we speak today? They've been combed out completely and so many other things. And these are avoidable killings, avoidable carnage, over 40,000 human lives have been wasted, aside from, infrastructure, buildings that have been destroyed. So many. So for me, this is avoidable carnage that ordinarily wouldn't have. But you are trying to flex muscle, against somebody that is bigger than you and so many others. So there's no way at the end of the day that they will still not talk and then have to reconcile. So it's like I said, it's just the terms now that the Israel, like Sophon said, that you eat the iron when it's all. They feel that you steer the hornet's nest. You came into our territory, and that up to now, some of those hostages are still in their territory.
Do you see the extent of hostages coming to pass, or do you see escalation of more crisis if Israel does not get their hostages back?
Well, as it stands, I believe that when push comes to shore, all right, the hostages, will be released as part, because
do you think they're still alive?
That's another thing. Because I think at a point they said maybe some of them that probably were killed, their body was recovered, I think about 3 weeks or something ago.
And they said they used chemicals to melt some of those bodies.
Yes.
Even their bones could not be...
Somehow, but when it comes to scientific whatever analysis, they can still, identify through DNA and all those sort of something. So I still believe that those guys probably are kept somewhere. You get what I'm saying? So I believe that someday in the very near future, not too far from now, something, towards lasting peace, whatever, at least particularly for this raging war, will be reached, in not too distant a time from now.
All right, we hope that was going to be the case. Let's move on to the next talking point coming down to Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu Monday, that's embarked on a trip to France, departing from Abuja. This was contained in a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, titled President Tinubu travels to France on Monday. Although the presidency did not state the purpose of Tinubu's visit, it said the president will return to the country after his brief work stay in France. This is the fourth trip the president is making to the European country since his assumption of office. So far, it has been to Equatorial Guinea, London, and United Kingdom, Guinea-Bissau, and Nairobi, Kenya, Porto Novo, Benin Republic, and Pretoria, South Africa, and also Ghana, where he visited Accra, and not forgetting New Delhi in India, and Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, and United States, where he visited New York, and also went to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. He also did visit Berlin in Germany, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and Dakar, Senegal, and Doha in Qatar. These are a list of places the president has visited. Some have said the issue of the presidential jet being almost seized due to the French court order might be one of the reasons the president has decided to go on a work stay in France, because looking at the challenges facing the country, should he be globe-trotting?
Well, I want to take us back to 1999, 2000, when Obasanjo became the president. In the history in the last 24 years, the first 1 or 2 years of presidency, Obasanjo traveled more than the rest of them that has come ever since. And the reason for that is not far-fetched. You check that because of the ostracization, the prolonged militarization, the spiral effect of the June 12 crisis that eventually, produced Salami, whatever, that eventually conducted an election and handed over to Obasanjo. The image of Nigeria was brutally bastardized before he came on board in 1999. And so, in addition to that, we were owing so many nations or so many institutions like the Paris Club, the World Bank, and then as far as that was concerned at that time. So within the first 1 year to 18 months of Obasanjo in power, he was globe-trotting. And that, helped Nigeria in a lot of ways, and many other African nations, that a lot of debt that were hanging on our neck were written off as a result of that, diplomatic, effort. So for me, I was looking at it now, within the last 1 year, going to 15 months or thereabout, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power. If you check, his trip outside this country are tactical. They have yielded a lot of positive impact. For instance, if you look at the trip to Saudi, the Middle East, the airline between the Middle East, the trip and then visa matter between Nigeria and then were issued before he came on board. Then the challenge of the steel industry in Nigeria, the Ajakuta steel and so many other things that were issued, which made him to travel to India and a couple of other countries like that, has, helped a lot of, attracted a lot of foreign direct investment. Have we seen any much
difference with the Ajakuta steel? For others, we've seen a lot of companies still leave Nigeria because of the worsening situation. Is it he one step forward, 2 steps backwards? And for the one for France, do you agree with those who say it's strictly because of the presidential jet issues?
Well, I want to believe that the issue of the presidential jet seizure or whatever by Chinese, for me, was an embarrassment to the government somehow. It was a huge embarrassment, but the step has to be taken to do damage control almost immediately. And I believe that that might not be far-fetched from the principal reason why the president at this point in time has to travel to actually assess what exactly are the issue, and so many other things, because these are spiral effects of the relationship that have been, that have become like, a liability in recent time that is causing the, the federal government, Ogun State, what have you, and the Chinese, and so many other things and all that. So such a matter, at least a short bilateral trip or a diplomatic trip, or sitting with the president of France and probably whoever that is involved, will solve the matter quickly and then for him to come back. Besides, you will equally recall that part of the previous trip of the president to France might be for medical, whatever, or something of that nature. So for me, there are certain things that, yes, the president, if he travel, which you all know, but there are certain things that we should not even belabor ourselves, bother ourselves much about, because whether he travel to France or he doesn't travel to France, the government apparatus, the day-to-day activities, tactical operations.
Using taxpayers' money to travel. We should know where he's going to and how long he should go, because he's not using his personal money. Wherever the presidential jet is, the hangar, this money is being paid.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Besides, the other world leaders say specifically where they're going to and why they're going. Why should he be in secrecy if he's sincere?
Well, the issue, like I said, there's so much on the ground here that we should be looking at. That's one. Two, I believe that whatever probably he has gone there to do, all right, will be in the corporate interest of the country. You understand? So that's why I said the development of the seizure of the presidential jet of this country was an embarrassment to a very sensitive government. And so whatever step you need to take to correct and to restore, that dignity and to, put the issue in proper perspective, it's not too much. You get what I'm saying? So I believe that within the next couple of days, I think he left today, within the next 2 or 3 days before the week runs out, probably is accepted back in the country. But like I said, every other thing, that needed to be done, whether it's around or it's not around, is going, is moving on the way it's supposed to move, and so many other things and all that. So many of other top, government presidents of countries do some unscheduled visits to certain places for some reason, that probably might not be known to the public or the general citizens and all that. So it's one of those things that he has to do. For me, there's nothing to think much about.
Well, okay, just not to belabor it, but
yes.
Okay, let's look at the federal government has mandating higher institutions in the country to, as a matter of urgency, regularly submit the matriculation list of to the Federal Ministry of Education no later than 3 months after the matriculation ceremonies. The list the government said would help them weed out all these fake degrees and institutions that award fake certificates like we see in Benin Republic and Togo and all. Do you think that's the best way to solve the issue?
Well, it's a pity that sometimes we are rather reactionary. We are rather reactive than being proactive and responsive. We are in a loose society in the sense that everybody just claim to have a degree, have a master's. We've seen it at very top government level. People who claim to have master's don't even have anything. They just want forged certificate here and there and all that. And besides, we were all here when our children now who probably are wounded by WAEC and NECO, are wounded by JAMB, over the years that probably could not scale through the set standard and scrutiny, are running through the back door, go to smaller country like Benin Republic to say they are doing one university within 2 years, they come back here. You and I were here when we were having over 75,000 Nigerians who are in Ukraine until the war broke out in Ukraine. Are you with me? And meanwhile, our own university, in terms of standard, in terms of quality, in terms of infrastructure, humanly and naturally, infrastructurally, we are going down on daily basis. Yes, some of our looters, permit me to use that word, who are strategic in government, whether public or private, and so many, were sending their own word to Ukraine. That are run into billions of dollars annually on so many other things. And that was why when that war first broke out about 2 years ago, how many Nigerians, young youth Nigerians that came back. And then the irony of it all that, at the end of their 4 or 5 years program, what they bring back in terms of maybe critical science-based whatever, particularly in medicine, some of them will come back, some of them will say they study law. When they still come back, the local students who finish from our local schools are far, far better, than them in terms of, performance and then the credibility and all that. So the point I'm making is that it is embarrassing if the Federal Ministry of Education is now asking JAMB to be submitting. I mean, it's a process. Annually, once they are finished at the admission, they know the total number of, students admitted into each university across the country, processed by them. The comprehensive for the master list, in fact, it's not something to be carried file up and down. It should have been integrated into the system in such a way that a comprehensive database of the total number of graduates we are really now, every year. Does it mean that Federal Ministry of Education does not have, the comprehensive data of how many graduates we are bringing out of our university to actually determine?
Do you trust the Federal Ministry of Education to be up and doing, to even be able to collate, like you said? Do you trust that database, if they have the database and the expertise, the capacity to carry out this process?
Without much ado, the world is a global place now. It's a global village. With ICT, there is something that you can't do. But you see, my point, like I said, is that our system, to a large extent, has been sleeping and snoring. And when you talk about system, it is not machine. It is the personnel. It is, the civil servants, the people that are behind the scene who are supposed to be doing. You come to some of these offices, you just see, up till now, we are still carrying file up and down. They have to look for your file here and there for a job, this and that. Ordinarily, when the world is going paperless, that right on your table, a memo is sent to you right now, you do what you need to do on it, you send it to the appropriate place again and all that, and the information go viral and so many other things. Whether we like it or not, it's often said that when the right timing and the right leader come together, incredible things happen. We have seen JAMB over and over again for years, until this present registrar, who, when you look at where it's coming from, Ishaq Oloyede raised the standard of Unilorin to the level it is today. Are you with me that today, this strike today, tomorrow by ASU, NASU, this and that does not happen there. University of Ilorin is one federal university in this country today that has come to a stage by way of the benchmark and the standard that Oloyede, left behind in that school that has stabilized the system for years. In the same token, he came to JAMB for the first time. He has changed the narrative completely. JAMB today is, high city based. JAMB today is, before now, they would do JAMB, you have to take 3 months to go and mark this and that. Right there, the day you are finishing the JAMB question, through CBT test and what have you and all that. He came up with all of those things. In the same token, it is the same Oloyede that over the years, we have seen professors like him, who are former vice chancellor of university, who became a registrar of JAMB and messed up, that is being tried right now for corruption and financial inducement and all that. But under Oloyede, you have seen that every year at the end of the year, he returned billions to the federal government cover to say, oh, this is what we generate, this is what we have used, and it's changing the standard of the structure across the country. If you go to the JAMB offices now, across the state, across the country, it has become something completely. And that's what leadership is all about.
Let's look at in terms of how do we deal with these fake news universities. Aside from the report by Omar Audu, the journalist who exposed the rot, do you think the government is being really sincere in its fight to change the narrative? Because we've not seen sanctions on any area, institution or persons who collaborated with these Nigerian students to bring in fake certificates and degrees.
Now, brother, it's very sad. It is very, very sad, because our system seems to be sleeping and snoring. An enemy is attacking. They're coming in. In this Abuja, there are places where they print, these fake certificates or so many other things. People can just walk into any printing shop right now, or even any other business center now and say, print certificate for me. No means of identification. I work in security printing and minting. Nigerian Security Printing and Minting is the only institution and then federal government strategic agency that is printing all certificates for tertiary institution, even for school living certificate across the country once upon a time. You get what I'm saying? Printing banknotes, printing international passport, checks, and all security documents and all that. But over a time, as a result of the systemic decay, you allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry, you go to everywhere, they print certificate here and there. There's no way of authenticating. You don't even know what we are issuing out and so many other things and all that. So people capitalize on that and a lot of things are going on. Besides, there's no proper monitoring and control of who must establish a school. There are fake universities over and over again that we are seeing that are just existing. And people go there, they collect money from people and they say they're under university that is not duly accredited by even NUC. So what I'm saying in essence is, you see, it is not the number of the university we have. It must be regulated. In abroad, you have universities that have been over 500 years. They know how many students they have graduated within those 500 years. They have their record intact. But unfortunately today, we have seen cases of, in one university or the other where they do party, they just people who don't even register, they come, they issue them certificate and so many other things and all that. So it is probably fair that spill up to Benin Republic and Togo. So it's a wake-up call that the Federal Ministry of Education should rejig their system, redefine, processes and procedures of doing things, and then should be able to farm up sanctions and penalty against erring personality, corporate organization that is doing anything, and so many other things and all that. A standard should be, redesigned that if you cannot measure up with this, you get what I'm saying? And so we are in a system and a country now where there is emphasis on certification. People get certificate. We have some of these NYC that are serving, even ask them to, relay what is Nigerian play. They don't know. Some of them spend 3 years even in university, and at the end of it, they don't even know who is their vice chancellor and so many other things and all that. So these are some of the, the sleeping and the snoring variables that are omnious, that are common. You get what I'm saying? So it is a wake-up call for the Federal Ministry of Education to actually rejig, to change, these armchair processes and procedures that we are still using up to now.
All right, in case you're just joining us, you're watching The Desk on Global Television. I'm my guest is Mother Jeffrey Abidoye, who is the global president of the Peace, Unity, Restoration and Prosperity Foundation with the project Rebuild Nigeria 360. We'll go for a quick break. When we return from the break, discussions continues, and hopefully Kachi Gerard, who will be joining us. He is the National Secretary Committee for Defense of Human Rights. Will be joining us via Zoom as we look at other very interesting talking points. We'll be looking at the police raid where NLC suspects bugs and hires a forensic expert to check their offices before they resume activities. We'll be looking at that talking point and others after this break. Stay with us. Is the Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians, we are the Canaan, because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits?
It's the Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the decks. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the decks.
Welcome back. You're still watching the desk on Global Television, and we're looking at silent issues making the rounds. Let's go to the police raid of the NLC Secretariat. That's where our next talking point begins from. The Nigerian Labour Congress has hired forensic experts to comb its national secretariat in Abuja for possible bugs planted by the police. The union said the forensic security audit would facilitate the return of its workers to their offices following the recent raid by the police. The July 7th security agents on July 7th conducted a night raid on the NLC Secretariat in Abuja. According to the NLC spokesman Benson Ukpa, the operatives burst into the building at about 8:30 p.m. and arrested the security guards, forcing them to hand over the keys of the office on the second floor. The police took responsibility for the operation, saying it was aimed at uncovering incriminating documents that could help build a case against an international subversive figure considered a threat to Nigeria's democracy. Do you think the NLC is going through the right route? And for the Nigerian police force, was it right, the approach they use in getting across?
Well, I think a strategic institution like the Nigerian police force, for them to act in such a Gestapo manner, leaves much to be desired. I believe that the Nigerian police force, whichever unit that went on such a special raid, will probably have sufficient facts, reasons for them to embark on that, because the Nigerian Labour Congress headquarters is not a new building. The Nigerian Labour Congress institution is not young in the history of our country. They've been there. And I believe that this has not happened. All right? And so if there is no reason for the Nigerian police, there must be an approval from the highest level, I'm sure, of this, for them to embark on that. In other words, if there are no sufficient facts for them to do what they did, because they reserve the right. No institution, no organization, no individual person is above the law somehow. It's just that the way it was carried out somehow, if it was done during the day, okay, they believe that the time they struck was the best time for them to be able to get what they actually want to get. I still want to believe that because of a lot of the protest matter, the involvement of the Nigerian Labour Congress, for me, I think there is a little deviation from the traditional, duty, obligation, and responsibility of the Nigerian Labour Congress in recent times. They are delving into politics. They are delving into certain things that ordinarily they ought not to plunge themselves into carefully, and so many other things. So I believe that the Nigerian police force has, sufficient facts for them. Up till now, they have not, though they own up, they admitted that, initially they were saying, they don't even say that, we are saying that it's DSSS. Yes. And DSSS said, no, we are not involved. It is the police, something of that nature. Later came out to say, we are involved and we have reason for doing this. Up to now, I still believe that maybe there might be certain information or certain, document that they got that probably investigation, as to what happened, leading credence to the information they had before they struck, on that, venture happened. So we're still waiting for them to come out, to tell Nigerians and tell the whole world why they have to do certain things, they have done or something of that nature. So I believe that it was not recorded that the security men were killed. It was not recorded that lives were lost. It was not recorded that, the place was set ablaze or something of that nature. So for me, excuse me, even in developed crime like US, the FBI, the CIA, and what have you, once they have information that probably can have a collateral damage to the territorial integrity of the country, they reserve the right by the law establishing them, whether individual, and so many other things. We have seen in this country when individuals who are invited by EFCC or what have you refuse to come, and then they move when they have information and so many other things. So it's not new. It's just that the matter is just unnecessarily being blown out of proportion.
And now that they're sending in forensic audit security experts to check if there were cameras or bugs in the office, do you think the NLC is going too far, or it just shows how untrustworthy they think the Nigerian police force
No,
is?
for me, for instance, if you go and hire now a foreign forensic expert, at whose expense? At the expense of the workers' deduction? Is the money being paid by the president from his own salary or whatever? Is this the personal money? Who did they consult? To even go and hire foreign expert, I mean, whatever it is, they've gone too far. If, whether you like it or not, it is called Nigerian Labour Congress. It is not international, it's not ILO. So the Nigerian Labour Congress is still operating within the four corners of Nigeria. And so whatever it is, when there's a conflict between the interests of NLC and that of the corporate interests of the government and all that, the government should take precedence. So what I expect is that rather than to go and now, okay, if they hire foreign, are they going to pay them in Naira? Will they collect Naira from them? They'll pay in dollars. Where are they getting the money from? You get what I'm saying? I think it was just last week or early this last week, yes, I think I read somewhere when they said that certain millions of crypto coin were blocked. Were blocked. Okay. So the government have an eye that never sleeps. Government eye is working 24/7. Even when NLC president and their affiliate leaders are sleeping, the government eye does not sleep. There's nothing that anybody is doing that the government does not have the apparatus or the machinery to be able to detect.
All right, I've been joined by Gerard Kachi, who is the National Secretary of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Kachi, thank you for joining us on the desk. Hello, Kachi, are you there? Can you hear me? All right, Kachi, welcome to the desk. Let's begin by taking this talking point. Let's take you to the story that has to do with, first of all, the Imo State government has dismissed as fake, malicious and unfounded posters of State Governor Hope Uzodinma with that of the All Progressive Congress APC National Chairman Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, where it was allegedly said that the governor is running for the office of the vice president in 2027, according to the press statement issued by the State Commissioner for Information, Public Orientation and Strategy, Decline Emelumba. The circulation of the posters on social media is the handiwork of mischief makers trying to cause affection between the governor and Mr. President. Kachi, let's get your take on that story before we move to other stories.
Oh, yes, a very good evening to you and to wonderful guests and our viewers. Thank you for having me. Yes, talking about Imo State debunking the recent circulation of posters with regards to aspiration of 2027. I quite agree with them that it's mischief makers that actually, trying to, pinch or do permutation. He's not just the only person that the posters have been in circulation. We also have, I think, Saraki, P2B, we have Jonathan Kwankwasia and others, So these are part of the political brouhaha that you normally see whenever there's another cycle of election that is coming close, but it's quite too early. So I don't, nobody can hold that with a pinch of salt. So there's nothing to hold on it. I think it's part of people that are trying to, strain the relationship that APC as a party and the leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is having recently.
All right, let's just quickly moving on because of the time factor. We're also looking at end bad governance. Organizers say they are planning after the organizers of the just concluded end bad governance protest that recently crippled the economic activities of the nation, are currently planning to stage more demonstrations across the nation in October. A former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, confirmed the plan on Saturday, said the Nigerian youth had a staged nationwide protest from August 1st to 10th over the prevailing economic situation in the country. The supposed 10 days peaceful demonstration was, however, hijacked by non-state actors, leading to the unfortunate death of some protesters. According to reports, 17 persons were reportedly killed in Abuja, Kano, Niger, Borno, Kaduna, and Jigawa, with several others severely injured. How do you see this playing out, another planned protest for October. Do you think there's need for this, considering the violence we saw that occasioned the last hashtag End Bad Governance protest?
Well, talking about violence that's occurred, one cannot, there's a popular saying that which cries at night, a child dies in the morning. If you look at the antecedent of protests in Nigeria, you quite agree with me that this particular administration of APC, especially from Buhari to date, with regards to NSAS, now to End Bad Governance protests, you see that there is a pattern that is going on. If there are protests with regards to support or pro-government protests, across the land, you will not hear any intelligent reports. You will not hear any issues of hijacking or violence. But whenever there's any protest that is pro-masses, that's, demanding for accountability, that's asking for reversal of policies that is being seen as anti-people policies, you begin to hear security agencies telling you their intelligence reports this may be hijacked. Now, talking about hijacking, it is on report via a lot of social media videos and even mainstream media, reporting it that you saw some persons claiming that they were, paid 5,000 or what have you to come and obstruct. Some even we are paid, giving placards, and while they were being interviewed, they are telling you that there's hunger, there's frustration, instead of them saying that everything government is doing is good. So I don't think that there are issues of hijackers, except those that are claiming that they have intelligent reports are the ones behind it. If you look at the antecedents so far, as of today, we have over 1,000 plus protesters being held across all the country, including Angel, Moses, Sadiq, Michael Lenin, Opelua, and many of us that are being incarcerated. As of today, we expected that they will be arraigned at the Federal High Court. Some of the protesters and Nigerians gathered to show solidarity. Getting to Federal High Court, there were a huge number of security personnel, including the army that's supposed to protect our territorial borders, that's supposed to protect our territorial, that's supposed to, protect the country, not even dabble into internal affairs of the country that's strictly for police or civil defense. But we saw them, being positioned at the Federal High Court and other places. I don't get it. Now, if Sowore, who I see as a leader in the struggle, who has been consistent over the years from 1990s to date, is seeing things and pushing it. You cannot blame me for that, because if you look at the affluence we are seeing at the current administration, it will marvel you. Just as recent as a few days ago, we saw the latest vehicle our president is using that is almost ₦1 billion. Few days or few hours after that, we saw the landing of the private jet alleged to be over ₦150 billion. And the way he uses immediately traveling to France. If you put all these jigsaw together, it makes one to worry, because we are talking about austerity measures. Instead of cutting down costs, we continue to see affluence. You continue to see things that make you to just shake your head in tears and in pain. You understand? Why people are dying of hunger, hardship, you continue to see the ruling class, displaying the high level of affluence that touches the heart and the brain.
All right, Gerard, let's end our discussions with this last talking point. Before I come to you, quickly, let's look at this last talking point. The Supreme Court on Monday refused to grant the request of the Social Democratic Party's governorship candidate in Yakubu Ajaka in the last election in Kogi State. The Apex Court dismissed his application, urging the court to await the outcome of his request for a full panel to hear an issue raised in his appeal. In his ruling, Justice Mohammed Garba, who presided over the five-member panel, noted that the issue in respect of which of the appellants seek a full panel was a fraction of the entire appeal. Ajaka and his party are in the appeal. The Apex Court also vacated the decisions of the lower court, both judgment of the Court of Appeal and that of the Kogi State Election Petition Tribunal, which upheld the victory of Ahmed Ododo of the All Progressive Congress in the state election. At the resumed hearing, the appeal, the lawyer who appeared for Ajaka and the SDP Pius Okubo told the court that his client had written the Chief Justice of Nigeria for the constitution of the full panel of the court to hear the issues raised. Do you think there's so much around this issue of the Kogi election that seems to suggest, like some allege that it seems the presidency have already taken sides, and so is the judiciary?
Well, I want to tactically disagree that the presidency has taken side, despite the fact that...
Because they are from the same ruling party.
No, it doesn't matter, because you have the opportunity at the tribunal right there in Lokoja to present all your facts, which you did. In the wisdom of the tribunal team, the rule, you move to appeal court, you make further presentation, facts, what do you call it, and every document, as exhibit, it was ruled against. Now you are the final place, the final arbiter, which is the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court is looking at, the issue now on all merits. The Supreme Court has to be fair to everybody. You get what I'm saying? And I believe that the angle that Ajaka is requesting that, they should now constitute, that means to go all over again. You get what I'm saying? So it looks somehow. You get what I'm saying? So, and I believe that, the courts now want to say, okay, let us limit ourselves to this, and then look at the merit and the demerit of your petition, your allegations, and then a judgment will now be, so that leg was what the Supreme Court, I think, ruled against, that no, that cannot, you cannot leave, the initial place, because those are the Supreme Court. Whatever that you plead probably at the tribunal up to appeal, you are not going to the Supreme Court to begin to open file and open yards. No. There's no room for that. They will look at that objectively and then making reference to precedents, to similar cases across the country and so many other things and all that. But one thing I just found out is that without prejudice, we might not be where we think we ought to be when you look at democratic journey so far in this country, but we actually know more where we used to be. As we speak right now about how many court judges or justices in this country are being, tried presently by the National Judicial Council, which is the highest strategic decision-making for, cases that were not properly handled or something of that nature. So I believe that our judiciary too, as shaking, as discredited as it is, they are waking up. I believe that the Supreme Court on this matter will be fair as far as that is
all right, Gerard, just 1 minute, your contribution to this matter as we call it a wrap.
I quite agree with the submission of our guests, with regards to believing that Supreme Court will be fair and just. If you look at the facts on ground, away from technicalities, you and I know the truth. You understand? Just as recent as few days ago, different fora has, even those who participated, because my organization participated as an observer. I observed the election. I led my team to Kogi State. I saw all that happened. I saw that transpired. The writing of result sheet before even the commencement of the,
all right.
We are expecting Supreme Court to look at the facts and leave technicalities, because what may or may not be with regard to the judgment will matter with the outcome of our future elections, either in off-cycle or general elections. So I look forward to them doing fair, just with regards to this matter, so that it will either restore hope or that.
All right, Gerard, I want to say thank you very much. That's how much time is going to allow us to take on today's edition of the program, The Dex. I want to say thank you to Gerard Kachi, who is the National Secretary of the Committee for Defense of Human Rights, and also not forgetting Model Jeffrey Abidoye, who is the Global President of the Peace, Unity, Restoration and Prosperity Foundation, the Rebuild Nigeria 360 project, for joining me in the live studio. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is mine. We don't have any other place. This is our own Jerusalem. We must do all we can to ensure that peace reigns in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's how we call it a wrap on the program. My name is Anthony Momodu. Good evening.